Frank Miller stood at the viewing port of the transport ship as it approached the massive space station. The station hung in space like a glowing wheel, its outer ring spinning slowly to create gravity. This was the seat of the Galactic Council, where over 200 alien species gathered to govern the explored universe. And today humanity would make its first official appearance. "Nervous?" asked Dr. Olivia Grant, coming to stand beside him. Frank straightened his dark blue uniform jacket. "No point in being nervous about the inevitable." Olivia smiled. She had worked with Frank for 5 years now, ever since humans had discovered the faster-than-light drive that finally allowed them to join the galactic community. As Earth's foremost expert on alien biology, she understood better than most what they were about to face. "They're going to warn everyone about us, you know," she said quietly. Frank nodded. "That's the plan." The transport docked with a gentle bump. Frank took a deep breath and checked his appearance one last time in the reflection of the viewing port. At 53, his hair had more gray than brown, and the lines around his eyes told stories of both laughter and hardship. He had been chosen as humanity's first ambassador precisely because of those experiences. Earth needed someone who understood diplomacy, but could also stand firm. A soft chime indicated the airlock was open. Frank nodded to Olivia and the small team of human representatives behind them. "Let's make history." They were met by a delegation of 3 aliens. The tallest had blue skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Beside it stood a being with 4 arms and skin like polished bronze. The third was small, barely reaching Frank's waist, with large black eyes and gray skin. The tall blue alien stepped forward. "Ambassador Miller, I am Coordinator Alex. We welcome Earth's delegation to the Council Station." Frank bowed slightly. "Thank you for your welcome, Coordinator. We are honored to be here." The small gray alien made a sound like tinkling bells. The translator at Frank's ear converted it. "The council session begins in 1 standard hour. We will escort you to the waiting area." As they walked through the station's gleaming corridors, Frank noted how other aliens stopped to stare at the humans. Some moved away quickly. Others whispered to companions. "They're scared of us," whispered Sam Rivera, one of the junior diplomats. Frank kept his face neutral. "Good." The waiting area was a large room with a viewing window that looked out over the stars. As soon as they were alone, Admiral Peter Jones, the military representative on their team, activated a device that would block any listening technology. "We're secure," he said. Frank nodded and turned to face his team. "Remember the strategy. We are here to observe their reaction. Earth Command expects the Council to issue a Class 3 warning about humans. This is exactly what we want. Idomwe." "Seems strange to want aliens to warn each other about us," said Karen Wu, the team's anthropologist. "Shouldn't we be trying to make friends?" Frank smiled. "We are making friends, just not in the way they expect. The Galactic Council has been observing Earth for decades. They've seen our wars, our resilience, our rapid technological advancement. They're afraid of what would happen if humans spread throughout the galaxy. And we're going to use that fear," said Admiral Jones, his voice firm. "Not use it," corrected Frank. "Redirect it. The galaxy needs to understand what humanity is capable of, both the good and the bad." A soft chime interrupted them. The door slid open to reveal Coordinator Alex. "It is time," the alien said. The council chamber was even more impressive than the images Frank had studied. The room was shaped like a massive dome, with floating platforms arranged in concentric circles. Each platform held representatives from different worlds. At the center was a raised dais where Frank would stand. As the human delegation entered, a hush fell over the chamber. Frank walked alone to the central platform, while his team was escorted to an observation area. High Counselor Zizek, a tall being with crystalline features, rose from the innermost circle. "Representatives of the Galactic Council, today we welcome observers from Earth. Their species has achieved faster-than-light travel, meeting the minimum requirement for consideration of provisional status." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Frank stood straight, hands clasped behind his back, face betraying nothing. "However," continued Zizek, It is the finding of the Observation Committee that a Class 3 warning must be issued regarding humans. The chamber erupted in louder murmurs. A Class 3 warning was rare. It meant a species was considered potentially dangerous to galactic peace. Xizik raised a crystalline arm, and the chamber grew quiet. Display the evidence. Holographic images appeared around the chamber, showing Earth's history, wars, environmental destruction, rapid weapons development. Then came images of human physiology, their endurance, their ability to survive injuries that would kill most species, their adaptability to different environments. Humans, said Xizik, evolved on what we classify as a death world. Their planet has higher gravity than standard. Their atmosphere contains elements toxic to many species. They survived predators that would decimate most sentient beings. They can endure radiation levels that would kill most of us. Their healing abilities are disturbing. Frank remained still, though he allowed a small smile to touch his lips. Furthermore, Xizik continued, humans advanced their technology at an alarming rate. From primitive flight to space travel took them less than 100 years. From discovery of atomic energy to faster-than-light travel, less than 200. This rate of advancement is unprecedented. In the observation gallery, Olivia Grant took careful notes. Admiral Jones sent an encrypted message to Earth Command. Warning issued as expected, Phase 1 complete. Xizik looked directly at Frank. Does the human representative wish to respond to these findings? Frank stepped forward. His voice was calm and carried throughout the chamber without seeming loud. High Counselor, esteemed delegates, I thank you for your thorough assessment of my species. Earth does not dispute these observations. He paused, looking around at the alien faces. Yes, we evolved on a planet that forged us through hardship. Yes, we have fought wars among ourselves. Yes, we advance quickly when faced with challenges. These are not flaws to be hidden, but truths to be acknowledged. Frank straightened to his full height. But know this. The same traits that make us dangerous when threatened make us valuable as allies. The same determination that helped us survive on our death world drives us to explore the stars with wonder, not conquest. He smiled fully now. We look forward to proving which aspects of humanity will define our place among the stars. Earth accepts provisional status and the Class 3 warning as fair assessments, for now. As Frank stepped back, the chamber remained silent. In that silence, Phase 1 of Earth's long-term strategy was complete. The Council had warned the galaxy about humans. Now it was time to show them what that really meant. Captain Susan Kelly walked onto the bridge of the Earth vessel Horizon. The ship hummed with quiet energy as it moved through space. 6 months had passed since Ambassador Miller's appearance at the Galactic Council. Now it was time for Phase 2. Status report, Susan said as she settled into the captain's chair. Lieutenant Alan Wright looked up from his communication station. All systems normal, Captain. We'll reach the border of Wreck space in 30 minutes. Susan nodded. Her orders were clear. Establish diplomatic contact with the Vrek Imperium. Intelligence reports indicated that the Vrek had voted against Earth's admission to the Council. They were insect-like beings known for their strict hierarchy and military prowess. Any response to our communication requests? Susan asked. Alan shook his head. Nothing yet. They're receiving our messages, but they're not answering. Security Chief Jack Porter stood at his station, back straight, eyes alert. They know we're coming. They're making us wait to show dominance. Susan smiled slightly. Then let's be polite guests and give them time to prepare. The bridge crew worked quietly as the Horizon continued its approach. Susan reviewed the mission parameters on her datapad. Earth Command had been clear. This mission would test how the Council's warning had affected perceptions of humans. The Vrek were known to respect strength. They had also received the Council's Class 3 warning about humanity. Captain, Alan called out, we're receiving a transmission from the Wreck Border Patrol. On screen, Susan ordered. The main view screen flickered to life. The face that appeared made several crew members flinch. The Wreck commander had a hard exoskeleton, large compound eyes, and clicking mandibles. His upper limbs moved constantly, adjusting equipment out of view. "I am Fleet Commander Zirax of the Wreck Imperium," the alien's translator buzzed. "You have approached our space without proper authorization." Susan stood, keeping her posture relaxed but respectful. "Commander Zirax, I am Captain Susan Kelly of the Earth vessel Horizon. We sent ahead all required documentation for a diplomatic visit. We have clearance from both Earth Command and the Galactic Council's Sector Administrator." The Wreck's mandibles clicked rapidly. "The Wreck Imperium does not recognize human clearances. The Council may have granted your species provisional status, but that does not entitle you to free passage through established territories." Susan maintained her diplomatic smile. "Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding. We can transmit our clearances again." "Unnecessary," Zrax interrupted. "You will hold position and prepare to be boarded. We will inspect your vessel according to Imperium protocols. You have 30 minutes to prepare. Any resistance will be treated as an act of aggression." The screen went dark before Susan could respond. Jack Porter moved to stand beside her. "They're testing us, Captain. They've been warned about humans, but they want to see for themselves." Susan turned to her senior officers. "It seems the Wreck didn't listen to the Council's warning. Let's show them why they should have. Defensive protocols only. I don't want a single shot fired unless absolutely necessary." "They're sending 3 warships," said the sensor officer, Ryan Davis. "Heavily armed, standard Wreck configuration." Susan smiled. "Perfect, let's give them a proper human welcome." 20 minutes later, the bridge crew had implemented Susan's plan. Chief Engineer Maria Gonzalez had made several special modifications to the ship's systems. "They're here," Ryan announced as 3 Wreck ships appeared on the sensors. Each was larger than the Horizon, with visible weapon systems along their hulls. The communication system activated again. Commander Zrax appeared on screen. "Prepare for boarding. Lower your shields and power down your engines." Susan stepped forward. "Commander, we respectfully decline. We are on a peaceful diplomatic mission with all proper clearances. Boarding. Our vessel without cause violates at least 3 Galactic Council protocols." The Wreck Commander's mandibles clicked furiously. "Your shields will be forcibly lowered if necessary. You have 5 minutes to comply." When the transmission ended, Susan turned to Jack. "Are we ready?" The security chief nodded. "All systems prepared, Captain." "Good," Susan said. "Let's hope this works. If not, things could get messy." Exactly. 5 minutes later, the lead Wreck ship fired a concentrated energy beam at the Horizon. Instead of hitting shields, however, the beam passed through what appeared to be empty space. The Horizon seemed to flicker and then vanish. "Holographic displacement successful," Ryan reported. "They're confused. All 3 ships are scanning for us." Susan nodded. "Phase 2. Deploy the EM pulses." Maria activated a control sequence from her station. "Pulses away, Captain." 3 small devices, launched earlier, activated near each Wreck ship. The pulses sent carefully calibrated electromagnetic waves through the alien vessels. Within seconds, the Wreck ship's external lights flickered and went dark. "Direct hit," Maria said. "Their systems should be offline for at least 30 minutes. Susan opened a channel to the Wreck ships. "Commander Zrax, this is Captain Kelly. As you can see, we could have disabled your ships permanently or destroyed them. Instead, we've temporarily disrupted your power systems. They will reset automatically in 30 minutes with no lasting damage." She paused to let that sink in. "The Council warned you about humans. They told you we evolved on a challenging world. That required us to be resourceful. They told you we advance our technology rapidly. You chose not to listen to that warning." Susan leaned forward slightly. "Consider this a free lesson, Commander. We came for diplomatic talks, not conflict. When your systems are back online, we welcome peaceful communication. Horizon out." The bridge crew worked quietly as they monitored the disabled Wreck ships. "Do you think they've learned their lesson, Captain?" Alan asked. Susan shook her head. "This was just the first demonstration. They'll be angry, which means they'll make more mistakes before they start to understand." 3 hours later, the Horizon continued on its original course. Behind it, the 3 Wreck warships had regained power but made no move to follow. Susan recorded her report to Earth Command in her private quarters. First contact protocols tested with the Wreck Imperium. As expected, they attempted to assert dominance despite the Council's warning about humans. Our demonstration of technological superiority was successful. No casualties on either side. The Freck now have first-hand experience of human capabilities. She paused, considering her next words carefully. They underestimated us despite being warned. This reaction validates our strategy. Recommend proceeding to Phase 3 as planned. Susan closed the communication and looked out her viewport at the stars. The Council had warned the galaxy about humans, painting them as dangerous. But they hadn't realized that the real danger wasn't that humans would conquer through force. The real danger was that humans would prove the warning both right and wrong at the same time. In the ship's mess hall, the crew celebrated their bloodless victory. Earth's message to the galaxy had been delivered. Underestimate humans at your own risk. Senator Greg Martinez adjusted his formal suit as he approached the conference room. The building was on Proxima Centauri III, a colony world that had become a neutral meeting place for various alien species. Ironically, humans had built this conference center before they had official contact with the Galactic Council. "Are you sure you want to do this alone?" asked Lieutenant Lisa Carter, his security officer. Her hand rested near the hidden weapon under her jacket. Greg smiled. "That's the point, Lisa. One unarmed human walking into a room full of aliens who fear us. It sends the right message." "And if they decide to make an example of you?" she asked. "Then, Phase 3 gets more interesting." He straightened his shoulders. "Wait here. I'll be fine." Greg walked into the large conference room without announcing himself. Inside, representatives from 17 different alien species sat around a circular table. They fell silent when he entered. Some visibly recoiled. "Good afternoon," Greg said pleasantly. "I hope I'm not interrupting." A tall alien with dark purple skin stood up. This was Thrax, leader of the Orion Syndicate and, according to Earth intelligence, the main organizer of this meeting. Human Martinez. Thrax's translator converted his rumbling speech. "This is a private gathering." Greg smiled as he pulled out an empty chair and sat down. "A private gathering to form an anti-human coalition. Yes, I know, that's why I'm here." Murmurs spread around the table. A gelatinous being near the far end rippled with what Greg recognized as anger or fear. "How did you know about this meeting?" demanded Menox, the reptilian Saurian representative. Greg leaned back in his chair. "Earth has been monitoring communications since the incident with the Wreck Imperium. We find it helps to stay informed." "You mean you spy on private communications," hissed Menox. "We observe," Greg corrected gently. "Just as the Council observed Earth for decades before contacting us. Just as all of you observe each other." Thrax's color darkened slightly. "You were not invited, Human Martinez. This meeting concerns the rapid expansion of Earth colonies and the growing threat your species poses to galactic stability." Greg looked around the table. "Let me guess. The Wreck told you about their encounter with the Horizon. How Captain Kelly disabled 3 warships without firing a single shot or causing any casualties. A small insectoid being chittered rapidly," the translator conveyed. "The humans established 6 colonies in unexplored sectors within 1 year. They adapt to environments that would kill most species. The Council's warning was insufficient." Greg nodded. "Yes, we're adaptable. It's what kept us alive on Earth. But I'm curious. Which of our colonies has threatened any of your territories? Which human ship has fired on your vessels? Which Earth diplomat has made demands of your governments?" Silence fell across the room. "None," Greg continued. "And yet here you are, planning to contain us. Why? Because we survived a planet that would kill most of you? Because we recovered from our own wars and environmental disasters? Because we learn quickly?" Thrax slammed a gelatinous appendage on the table. "We must act now. The Council warned us about your kind. You are Deathworlders. You heal from injuries that would end any of us. You seem to thrive on conflict." Greg took a slow sip from a water glass on the table, noting how several aliens flinched when he moved. The Council's warning had created exactly the fear Earth's strategists had anticipated. "We propose a trade embargo," announced Thrax. "Cut off humans from advanced technology. Isolate Earth and its colonies until they agree to restrictions on their expansion." Greg watched silently as they discussed the details of the embargo. Earth intelligence had predicted this response months ago. When it was time to vote, the measure passed unanimously. As the session ended, Greg approached Thrax directly. "A word, if I may," he said pleasantly. Thrax's translator emitted a sound of surprise. "Human Martinez, you understand this embargo is nothing personal." Greg smiled. "Of course, but you should know, humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. When we can't buy something, we build it ourselves, usually better than before." He placed a small data crystal on the table. "This contains our production capabilities, resource management systems, and contingency plans for exactly this scenario. We've been planning for an embargo since before we met any of you." Thrax's color shifted to a pale blue. "This is intimidation." "No," Greg replied. "This is a courtesy. The Council warned you about us. You still don't understand what that means." Greg walked out of the conference room where Lisa waited. "How did it go?" she asked, falling into step beside him. "Exactly as predicted. They voted for a full trade embargo against Earth and all human colonies." Lisa frowned. "That will slow down our expansion." Greg shook his head. "No, it will accelerate. Earth Command has been stockpiling essential materials for months. Our scientists have been reverse engineering alien technology since first contact. The embargo will force us to become self-sufficient faster." They walked through the building's grand lobby, attracting stares from aliens of various species. "Did you give them the data crystal?" Lisa asked quietly. Greg nodded. "They'll analyze it and find that we've prepared for every contingency they discussed today. Some will push for more aggressive action. Others will begin to question whether opposing humans is wise. And Phase 3 is ready," Greg confirmed. "We just need to wait for the right moment, a crisis that will show them what humans are really capable of." When they reached their ship, Greg sent a secure transmission to Earth Command. Coalition formed as expected. Embargo approved unanimously. 17 species involved. Recommend activation of Phase 3 contingencies and acceleration of the Helping Hand Protocol. That evening, as the human ship departed from Proxima Centauri III, the members of the newly formed anti-human coalition studied the data crystal. The information it contained was troubling. Humans had anticipated their every move, prepared for every restriction. And most concerning of all, they seemed entirely unconcerned about the embargo. "Perhaps," suggested one of the coalition members, "the Council's warning should have been stronger." Thrax stared at the projection showing Earth's comprehensive contingency plans. "No," he said slowly. "I think perhaps we still don't understand what the warning meant." On the human ship, Greg looked out at the stars. The coalition thought they were containing a threat. They didn't realize they were pushing humans to become exactly what they feared, a species that didn't need anyone else, that could survive and thrive on its own. But Earth had a different plan, and the next phase would show the galaxy something they didn't expect from the dangerous humans they had been warned about. The embargo against Earth had been in place for 6 months. Contrary to the Coalition's expectations, human colonies continued to grow. Earth ships now carried the materials they needed themselves instead of trading. Human scientists developed new technologies rather than purchasing them. The Coalition's plan to isolate and weaken humanity had backfired. President Nancy Rodriguez sat in the Oval Office of the White House, Earth's traditional seat of power. On the screens before her, reports showed that human innovation had increased by 60% since the embargo began. "Sometimes I wonder if we should thank them," she said to her advisors. Vice President Ben Lewis smiled. "The embargo was the best thing they could have done for us. Our scientists are working together like never before." The door opened, and a young aide rushed in. "Madam President, we've just received an emergency transmission from the Xerxian homeworld. Nancy frowned. The Xerxians were a founding member of the anti-human coalition. Their world was known for its stable environment and peaceful society. What kind of emergency? Geological, ma'am. Massive tectonic shifts threatening their major cities. They're facing a planet-wide catastrophe. The room fell silent. Earth's intelligence networks had been monitoring all coalition worlds. No one had predicted this. They're asking for help, the aide continued. From us specifically. Their message says their coalition partners lack the technology and experience to handle tectonic instability. Nancy stood and walked to the window, looking out at the Washington Monument in the distance. The Xerxians voted for the embargo. They've spread anti-human propaganda. Now they face extinction and ask for our help. She turned back to the room. What say you? The vote was unanimous. 24 hours later, Earth launched Operation Helping Hand. 50 ships carrying specialized equipment and personnel departed for Xerxia Prime. Dr. Paul Cooper, Earth's leading expert on geological stabilization, led the mission. On the bridge of the flagship Mercy, Paul reviewed the data coming in from Xerxia Prime. The situation was worse than they had been told. Entire continents were shifting. Cities were already being swallowed by sudden sinkholes and rising magma. Can we really help them? Asked his assistant, Dr. Sarah Wilson. Paul nodded. We've dealt with worse on our colony worlds. Earth itself has had similar events in its history. That's why the Xerxians called us. We're the only species in the known galaxy that evolved on a geologically unstable world. The ship's captain, Daniel Reed, approached them. We're entering Xerxian space. Their authorities have granted us emergency clearance to bypass their defense systems. Any word from the other coalition members? Paul asked. Daniel shook his head. None have sent help. Some are apparently arguing that this is a natural event, and interfering would violate their non-intervention policies. Paul frowned. Convenient excuse. When they reached orbit around Xerxia Prime, they could see the devastation. Massive cracks ran across the surface of the once beautiful world. Clouds of ash rose from newly formed volcanoes. They're hailing us, Daniel said. The main screen activated to show a Xerxian face. The beings resembled tall, elegant plants with sensory fronds that waved gently around their central stalk. This one's color was a sickly yellow-gray rather than the usual vibrant green. This is Premier Axleth of Xerxia Prime. We thank you for your swift response to our distress call. Paul stepped forward. Premier Axleth, I'm Dr. Paul Cooper, leading Earth's disaster response team. We've brought equipment and personnel to help stabilize your tectonic plates. With your permission, we'd like to begin deploying immediately. The Xerxians' fronds drooped slightly. You have our full permission and gratitude, Dr. Cooper. Our Science Council will provide all data we have on the situation. 6 hours later, Paul was the first human to set foot on the struggling planet. The ground shook beneath him as he approached the Xerxian Emergency Council. The air smelled of sulfur and ash. We came as quickly as we could, he said to Premier Axleth. Our geologists believe we can stabilize your major fault lines using our pressure distribution technology. Why would you help us? Axleth asked, Franz trembling. We supported the embargo against your species. Paul began unpacking equipment. Because that's what humans do. The Galactic Council warned you that we evolved on a death world. They told you we survived predators, disasters, and our own wars. What they didn't explain is that those challenges taught us compassion. We know what it means to suffer, so we help those who suffer. The Xerxians watched in amazement as human teams deployed across their planet. Special drills bored deep into the crust. Stabilizing compounds were pumped into active fault lines. Portable shield generators were set up around population centers. On the third day, when a massive earthquake threatened to destroy the Xerxian capital, humans evacuated 10,000 citizens in less than an hour. Not a single life was lost. By the end of the first week, the worst of the crisis had passed. The human technology was working. The planet's crust was beginning to stabilize. Premier Axleth called a special session of the Xerxian government, with Paul Cooper as the honored guest. The people of Xerxia will never forget what humans have done for us, Axeleth said, fronds now a healthy green. You came to our aid when our own allies hesitated. You risked your lives for a species that had opposed yours. Paul looked out at the assembled Xerxians. We didn't help you to gain political advantage. We helped because we could, because on Earth we learned long ago that survival isn't just about being strong or adaptable. It's about working together to overcome challenges. The embargo? Axeleth asked. Is your decision to maintain or withdraw from? Paul replied. Earth asks for nothing in return for our help. Later that day, Paul sent a message to President Rodriguez. Phase 4. Complete. Xerxians have announced their withdrawal from the coalition and the embargo. 3 other species have contacted Earth about following their example. In orbit above Xerxia Prime, Commander Amy Foster of the Earth ship Galileo received new orders. Demonstration of human compassion successful. Coalition embargo showing signs of fracturing. Proceed to final phase preparations. As Earth ships prepared to depart, leaving behind technology and knowledge freely given, the Xerxians gathered to bid them farewell. Many held signs written in human languages. Thank you, Earth, and humans are friends. On his shuttle back to the Mercy, Paul looked down at the healing planet below. The Council had warned the galaxy about human strength, human resilience, human adaptability. They hadn't warned about human kindness, and that perhaps was the most powerful force humans possessed. 1 standard year had passed since the Galactic Council issued their warning about humans. The Great Chamber looked the same as it had that day, with its floating platforms arranged in concentric circles. But much had changed in the galaxy. Ambassador Frank Miller once again stood at the center of the council chamber. This time he was not alone. Representatives from 12 former coalition species stood with him, including the Xerxians with their green fronds swaying gently. From the observation gallery, Dr. Olivia Grant watched with quiet satisfaction. Beside her, Admiral Peter Jones maintained his military bearing, but a small smile played at the corners of his mouth. Phase 5, Olivia whispered. Did you ever think we'd get here so quickly? Peter nodded slightly. The plan was sound. The Council's warning did exactly what we hoped it would. High Counselor Emissary, a being composed of swirling energy contained in a transparent shell, rose from the innermost circle. The chamber fell silent. We gather today to reconsider Earth's status within the galactic community. Emissary's voice resonated throughout the chamber. 1 cycle ago, when humans first achieved faster-than-light travel, we issued warnings about their potential dangers. Today we must acknowledge we failed to warn adequately about their other qualities. The holographic displays around the chamber activated. But instead of showing Earth's wars and weapons, they now displayed different images. Earth ships delivering aid to disaster zones, human medical teams saving species on the brink of extinction, Earth scientists freely sharing technological innovations that benefited dozens of worlds. In the past year, Emissary continued, humans have demonstrated capabilities that many found unexpected. The displays showed the Horizon's encounter with the wreck ships, focusing on how the humans disabled but did not destroy their opponents. Then came images of Earth's response to the Xerxian crisis. Premier Axeleth moved forward. When my world faced destruction, many of our supposed allies cited non-intervention protocols. Humans came without hesitation. They stabilized our planet using technology they developed on their own death world. They asked for nothing in return. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many delegates leaned forward, studying the human representatives. With new interest, Frank stepped forward. Esteemed delegates, humanity never wanted to be feared. The Council warned others about our physical resilience, our adaptability, our tendency to overcome challenges. You failed to mention that these same traits make us excellent allies, creative problem solvers, and determined friends. He gestured to the delegate standing with him. These worlds have discovered that humans are more than the sum of our warnings. We evolved on a dangerous planet, yes. We survived disasters and conflicts, true. But these experiences taught us to value peace, to seek connection, and to extend help to those in need. Zizik, the crystalline being who had delivered the original warning about humans, rose to speak. When I informed this council about humans 1 cycle ago, I believed I was protecting our community from a potential threat. I now see my assessment was incomplete. The crystalline being's facets caught the light as it turned to face the entire assembly. I move that Earth be granted full membership status with all rights and privileges. Their response to the Coalition's embargo was not retaliation, but assistance. When faced with hostility, they offered aid. Thrax, the former leader of the anti-human coalition, rose from his platform. His dark purple skin had lightened somewhat over the past year. I opposed humans from the beginning, he admitted. I feared their strength, their adaptability, their rapid advancement. I organized the embargo to contain them. He paused. I was wrong. The warning about humans was accurate but incomplete. In the gallery, Olivia leaned closer to Peter. We did it, she whispered. All 5 phases exactly as planned. Peter nodded. From feared outsiders to valued members in just 1 year. Earth Command will be pleased. The debate continued for several hours. Some delegates still expressed concerns about humanity's rapid expansion and technological development. Others pointed to the benefits of having such an adaptable species as allies. When the final vote came, it was not unanimous, but the majority was clear. Earth would join the Council as a full member with all rights and privileges. As the session ended, delegates from across the galaxy approached the human representatives, eager to establish stronger diplomatic ties. Frank found himself face to face with Coordinator Alex, the blue-skinned alien who had first welcomed him to the Council station a year ago. You planned this all along, didn't you? Alex asked quietly. You wanted the Council to warn everyone about humans. Frank smiled. We knew how we would be perceived. We could have fought against that perception, or we could use it to our advantage. The embargo? The Xerxian crisis? Were these also party of your plan? Frank's expression grew serious. The embargo we anticipated. The Xerxian crisis was genuine. We would never endanger innocent lives. But we were prepared to demonstrate human compassion when the opportunity arose. Alex's skin shimmered. Remarkable. The Council thought they were protecting the galaxy from humans, but you were always several steps ahead. That's the thing about evolving on a death world, Frank said. You learn to think in terms of survival, not just your own, but everyone's. The Council warned that humans are dangerous. What they failed to understand is that we're most dangerous when we're helping others. Later, as the Earth delegation prepared to return home, Frank sent a simple message to President Rodriguez. Phase 5 complete. Full membership granted. The long game was successful. Olivia joined him at the viewport as the ship pulled away from the Council station. What happens now? She asked. Frank looked out at the stars. Now we do exactly what we promised. Help build a better galaxy for all species. The Council warned aliens about humans, and they didn't listen. Now they're beginning to understand who we really are. In the year that followed, human ships traveled to worlds that had never seen Earth species before. Human scientists worked alongside alien researchers to solve problems that had stumped the galaxy for centuries. Human diplomats helped negotiate peace between civilizations locked in ancient conflicts. The Council's warning remained in the official records. Humans evolved on a death world, physically resilient, technologically adaptive, potentially dangerous. But now there was an addition. Humans, compassionate beyond expectation, allies beyond compare, friends beyond price. The long game, proving that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their ability to survive adversity, but their determination to help others do the same, had only just begun.